What's up, everybody? I'm Erica, and let me be the first to say, Merry Christmas to you! I love this time of year because it gives me an excuse to spread joy. Joy is finding a way to be happy even when things don't go your way. And what better way to spread joy than by giving your friends and loved ones a gift? But what gift? What gift? What can you buy that will spread joy without breaking the virtual piggy bank? The people over at Amazin.web may have the answer. This is the latest innovation in Yuletide gift giving, the Amazin Mystery Box! Ooh, that's right. What's inside this box is a complete mystery, even to the person who buys it. All I know is that Amazin promises that this box contains quite possibly the greatest technical breakthrough since the beginning of the creation of the earth itself! And at just under $100, I'd say that's quite the bargain. So, you can buy the Amazin Mystery Box for your friends and loved ones and watch as their faces fill with joy as they open it on Christmas morning. Or you can watch me open it right now. I'll give you half a second to decide. And we're back! Let's solve this mystery. Okay, I've got my handy dandy box cutter. You gotta be really careful when using one of these because you don't want to damage what's inside the box or your fingies. Okay, ready? And we have, the suspense is killing me. A box! It's not unusual for Amazin to pack one box inside of another box, especially if what's in that box is really fragile. More styrofoam peanuts. Well, you know, styrofoam peanuts are easily the most popular form of packing material. It's another box. You gotta admire their commitment. Open it up, I can almost feel the joy. Huh. I've never seen this before. Actual peanuts. Okay. It's kind of making me hungry. I think this is it. This is it. My hands are shaking. Okay. We're kidding around. Okay. This is taking too long. I'm so excited. Okay, come on. This it? But they promised. I paid almost $100. Things are not going my way. Today's Bible story is about promises, and one big promise in particular. Quite possibly the greatest promise since the creation of the earth itself. Now I'm really excited. Nope. That.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. And now for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verses 6 and 7.
God crafted a breathtaking, beautiful world to be the perfect home for His most amazing creation, people. But since the first moment of history, those people that God so deeply loved turned away from Him. The world was broken. People chose to go their own way rather than care for others or the God who cared for them. But God had an idea. He chose a man named Abram.
Abram, I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. All nations on earth will be blessed because of you.
Though Abram, later called Abraham, and his children and his grandchildren had made many mistakes, God still honored His promise. He made Abram's family into a great nation, the Israelites. Then, centuries later, after the Israelites had been enslaved, God called a man named Moses to lead them all to freedom and to the land that God had promised Abraham so many years before. God gave his people rules to keep them safe and set them apart from the other nations around them that worshipped, false gods.
Do not put any other gods in place of me.
Now, God provided priests and judges to guide the people in this new land, but all they wanted to do was be like the nations around them.
They have a king with a crown and a shiny sword.
That is like totally amazing. We should have a king too.
Though it saddened God's heart, God instructed the priest Samuel to choose a king for Israel. Now, the first king, Saul, did not listen to God, but the second king, David, was called a man after God's own heart. God made a promise to David through the prophet Nathan.
Your royal house and your kingdom will last forever in my sight. Your throne will last forever.
See, God was telling his people that someone from David's family would be the true king who would rescue and rule over God's people forever.
Lord and King, how great you are. There isn't anyone like you.
There were many kings who followed David. Some of them listened to God. Most of them did not.
Check out these groovy golden calves I made. Pretty sure they rescued you from slavery, even though I just now made them. So bow down and worship.
Once again, God's people turned away from him. They worshiped false gods and fought against each other. At last, God allowed enemies to capture his people and take them to live in foreign lands. God's people had failed to follow him, but even though they were scattered, he remained faithful. God whispered the details of his plan to rescue them once and for all. He sent prophets like Isaiah to share his word.
A child will be born to us. A son will be given to us. He will rule over us. He will be called Wonderful Advisor and Mighty God. He will rule on David's throne and over his kingdom. His rule will be based on what is fair and right. It will last forever. The Lord's great love will make sure that happens.
Through the prophet Micah, God promised,
Bethlehem, you might not be an important town in the nation of Judah, but out of you will come a ruler over Israel. His family line goes back to the early years of your nation.
God gave Zechariah a picture of what this ruler would be like.
City of Zion, be full of joy. See, your king comes to you. He always does what is right. He has won the victory. He is humble and riding on a donkey.
God even revealed that this king would die for the sins of all.
He was arrested and sentenced to death. He was cut off from this life. He was punished for the sins of my people.
But God also promised that not even death could stop this rescuer.
You will not leave me in the place of the dead. You always show me the path of life. You will fill me with joy when I'm with you.
So God had given his people all the puzzle pieces. He had promised a Messiah would rescue them. The only catch was nobody knew when this Messiah was going to arrive. Now, eventually, some of God's people were allowed to return to their home, but they still lived under foreign rule, first under the Persians, then the Greeks, and at last, the Romans.
All hail Caesar! All hail Caesar! All hail Caesar!
Then, for hundreds of years, God seemed to be silent. God's people just went about their daily lives under Roman rule. Many of them probably gave up hope, including the religious leaders.
A Messiah? Yes, of course. It'll show up sometime. Just pay your temple tax, okay? I need to buy new golden tassels for my robe.
But still others lived in hopeful expectation that God would still send someone any day.
God's Spirit has told me I will see the Messiah before I die.
Well, the stage was set. Everything was in place for God to bring joy to the world. But no one could have imagined how unusual the arrival of God's rescuer would be. In the little town of Bethlehem, lying still beneath silent stars.
Well, it is an incredible technical achievement. It's kind of like the first computer. It can solve mathematical equations. It's a word processor. You can Poke holes with it. Okay. Who am I kidding? They promised me something great and all I got was this. Commercials are always promising you things. You can make millions without leaving the comfort of your own home. Lose 30 pounds in 30 minutes. Our prices are insane. They're always letting you down. It's true with people too. Even your best friends can break promises. But here's the good news. Here's the good news. When God makes a promise, he keeps it. Thousands of years ago, God made a promise to Abraham that he would have more children than he could count, and that the world would be blessed because of them. The Old Testament tells the story of Abraham's family and how they grew and grew and grew until they became a great nation, the Israelites. God kept his promise to Abraham. Then, through his prophet Isaiah, he gave another promise to send a child, a son, to be our Savior. God kept his promise when he sent Jesus. And there's more! God promises that someday Jesus will bring a peace that will never end. That brings me joy because I know that God keeps his promises. So, here's the one thing to remember today. You can have joy because God keeps his promises. Things aren't always gonna go your way, even at this festive time of year. And it's okay to be sad or disappointed or angry. And it's possible to find joy even when you're annoyed. Accidental rhyme. I gotta write that one down. Where's my phone? Or I could just, use the world's oldest computer. You can find joy even when you're annoyed. See you next time.